It is the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio, coming to you live from the TireRack.com studios. And yes, we are broadcasting live from the TireRack.com studios, TireRack.com. We'll help you get there. An unmatched selection, fast free shipping, free road hazard protection, and over 10,000 recommended installers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Coming up in hour number 2 of The Odd Couple, we'll talk with Randy Mueller, the former NFL Executive of the Year. He'll drop by in about 25 minutes or so we'll do that. So stick around for that. And, we'll start here in hour number 2. And, of course, the whole story and situation is, did the NFL act appropriately in the aftermath of Hamlin's injury? Did you feel like the NFL reacted properly? Should the game immediately been canceled or postponed, whatever they want to call it? Should the NFL, did they handle it the right way? Wait to see if there's some improvement by Hamlin, and then maybe they could have gone on with the game. What would have been the right move in this situation? Rob G., what did you think initially, Rob G., when you saw what went down? Did you ever think the game was going to be replayed again?
No. Initially, I was very disappointed in the way the NFL had handled it because, as Ephraim mentioned in the previous hour, there's a difference between guys going down and, they're checking their limbs and their legs and their,
right,
whatever. Even guys who get concussions, you'll see some movement. You don't get a CPR and what was it, the defibrillator, right? I think
right.
They brought out.
You don't.
Right?
That's not normally
that's
what
not
you see. Right.
Standard kind of stuff. And when you see guys on the field in tears because they understand the severity of the situation, you would think that Roger Goodell would be on the horn immediately saying, get these guys in the locker room. We're calling the game. We're postponing it indefinitely, whatever, right?
Right.
But in the time span that it took for them to make any kind of decision was over an hour.
Right. Chris, where were you as far as, did you think the game would be resumed? Did you think the NFL took too long? Because I think I was with Rob G. I didn't think they would be played. I thought they were waiting, hoping, and wishing that they can continue to play the game. That's why they took so long. But I just didn't think that was such a horrific scene for a lot of people that I didn't think they were going to play.
I mean, we were talking about it on the air, and we both, when it was suspended, we thought it would eventually be canceled, postponed, whatever word you want to use. But I understood the waiting because I'm with you, Rob. Like I thought they were waiting to see if there was good news with Hamlin and that the players would be relieved. Okay, good. Our guy, he's okay.
He's going to be okay. Right, absolutely.
We can get back out there and play like they're used to doing after an injury. I'm not going to kill the NFL. I mean, look, there's conflicting reports, that Joe Buck was saying that the players have been given 5 minutes. Troy Vincent, vice president of football operations or executive vice president, he denied that today strongly, Rob, on a conference call with reporters. I know Troy personally. Troy is a man of high integrity. Look, I get the business, but it's hard I'm not going to sit here and call him a liar because I know about him.
Right.
Personally.
Here's my other thing too. And I agree with you. I know Troy a little bit, Chris, not as well as you, but I do know Troy. But Joe Buck is the mouthpiece for ESPN. Yeah, okay, so Joe Buck is not making up.
I was going to say, I agree.
Okay,
it's hard to see him
He's the
making
mouthpiece.
Things up.
He's not making up 5 minutes.
Maybe he was talking to somebody else. I don't know. You're right. Like, I don't see Joe Buck making that up on national television. Why you could get fired if you make that up.
If you're telling people, we're going to get started in about 5 minutes. No. Like when the announcers, Chris, there's a rain delay and they say we're going to be underway in about 30 minutes. They're going to bring the
Right.
pitchers out, warm them back up, right? That's like giving fed to you. You don't know
Right.
that.
Is it possible Buck was talking to somebody with the NFL that wasn't like the authoritative
Official?
voice, right? Like just kind of off the record texting. What do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe, but I can't sit here and say he is lying.
Right,
Like you
I'm
said,
with
we both know Troy. I can't say he's lying, but what I will say is this, Rob, because I saw today, and maybe you saw it as well on some TV shows, where reporters talking to the NFL had said, at this point, and this was this morning, the NFL has said they aren't even thinking about what they're going to do with this game going forward. Like, it's not even off the record, on the record,
Right.
background. It hasn't been discussed. Rob, they've had to discuss it. And
Chris-
that doesn't mean they're being insensitive. That means they're doing their jobs.
Right, but they don't want to put that out there now while this young man is still in the
Right.
state that he's in. Like, they're worried about, oh, yeah, we're going to reschedule it for next week. And, like,
They
they're already
certainly
moved
can't
on.
say when, and I'm sure they don't know when, I wouldn't think.
No, and that's
But
why they don't want to do it.
Yeah, but you can't, like, anyone who would say be critical of the NFL if right now they are having a conference call about what we should do with this game going forward, or if they were this morning or late last night, that they have to continue their business.
There's a business that is involved. Let me
Right.
say this, too, about Joe Buck. Here's the other part. He mentioned that 5-minute thing 3 times, Chris. So it wasn't like he did it once.
It's hard to think he was making that up.
I can't believe that.
I don't
right.
know Joe Buck personally,
Yeah,
but
I know him from baseball. You know, obviously a little bit. See him at the ballpark, talk to him a little bit. But I don't believe Joe Buck is like that's for him to come up with something out of thin
Right.
air. It's got to be somebody he either, like you said, Chris, might be with the league or something that he knows, but unofficial. You know,
Right.
but it's with the
they
league
don't have
that
the
he
authority to
right.
say
But
what
he has
they're
a
gonna
confidant
do.
in the league,
Yep.
and they're probably going to get started in about 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
And maybe he bought that and thought that was right. But him saying it 3 times is weird because
No doubt. And I will say this, right? And I'm not trying to look. I get people being critical of the league. I think it's a situation. Now they got to be ready for everything, but this is just something that maybe has never happened, Rob, in a game. And these things take. You know, they're tough decisions to make. You got to make them. That's why you get paid. What does Goodell get paid? Almost $50 million a year, or something like that.
45 million
you
or
gotta
whatever
make
it
them.
is.
But what I will say this, Rob, and my wife, as you know, and most people that listen to the show regularly know, she's a doctor.
right.
I would have to give the NFL, and I guess it's just standard procedure. They know it's a violent sport, so you got medical people ready at right ready to go. Them getting Hamlin the assistance he needed, the care he needed immediately I thought that was terrific. I thought they handled it terrific. And my wife said, with a situation like that, cardiac arrest, how quickly you get to
Life
him.
or death, Chris.
Is
life or death.
exactly it. Right. And it might be the quality of life, if he survives, the quality of life he has going forward could be impacted by how quickly you got the heart going again and the oxygen and all the things he needed. So I thought that was impressive. And so it's just a bad situation. And I'm not going to kill the league because they waited an hour to, decide not to play. I think ultimately the right thing was done. And it's just one of those unfortunate situations that happen.
And there were doctors on Twitter, Chris, last night that said, other than a hospital, that Hamlin could not have had that incident happen in a better place at a football field.
There you go.
Because of all the medical personnel who are there. Normally,
Yep.
if you're out on a field somewhere, you're in trouble.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and another thing I saw on Twitter, Chris, was interesting to me and what made me hopeful is the hockey NHL player Chris Pronger. He suffered something very similar, Chris. He took a slap shot in the chest in 1998. Pronger somehow was back, Chris, on the ice weeks later, and guess what? Played 12 more years and made it to the Hockey Hall of Fame. So he had a similar incident on the ice, was revived, and was able to get back on the ice weeks later and have a long career and made it to the Hall of Fame. So I'm wishing and hoping that we have some sort of story like that for him.
And it's possible. I mean, that story clearly shows it, and that's right. Like, look, if he comes back and he's living, and he's fine, we're all going to be happy. But I'm also praying for that he can get back to a normal quality of life.
Sure, that's the most important
whether he plays
thing,
football or not.
Right.
But let me ask you this, Rob, and he's different than us. I mean, he's a pro football player. But if you were in his shoes and you were fine and able to play again, would you? Because I think he will if he can. I remember Ryan Shazier. He wanted to play again when he with the Steelers when he had the injury. Yeah, he came back and wanted to play. What would you be like, man? I'm gonna hang it up.
I'd have to listen to my doctors first. Who was for whatever reason, I'm blanking on his name, the Spur, who played for the Brooklyn Nets, who retired during the season. You remember?
Oh, yeah, LaMarcus Aldridge.
Aldridge. And Chris, and then he came back and played next year. He came back.
We both said, and he was at, his prime was over.
But
he was at the end of his career.
But you remember the doctors were like, you need to stop playing. He stopped playing that day. He didn't play out the season or retire at the end of the playoffs. It was that day. Well, and then he came back and played. He got a second opinion or whatever, and he came back and played for the Nets the next year.
Yeah. I mean, look, Hamlin's only 24, Rob.
He's a young guy.
I'm not going to be mad at him if he does. I mean, I'm going to be glad that dude can do whatever he wants to do.
All you got to do is consult your doctors, Chris, and feel good. We didn't think Kevin Durant should have played. You remember that with both of us.
We both.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Right.
It just depends on the circumstance. But we both called that before. Like, what are you doing?
Absolutely.